The basement watch. They told me the basement shift was easy. No customers. No drunks staggering in at 3 a.m. No angry bosses breathing down your neck. Just humming pipes, a coffee that always tasted faintly of metal, and the slow tick of a clock that felt more like a heartbeat than time. I liked it that way. Predictable. Quiet. A man could vanish down there, and the world wouldn't notice. The basement itself was carved out of old concrete, the kind that sweated in the night and left your boots damp by morning. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like tired bees, and the walls carried this constant low groan, as if the building had lungs of its own. My desk was wedged between a wall of flickering security monitors and a file cabinet no one had opened in years. It was, in its way, a coffin of safety. No one bothered me. No one asked questions. And for a while, I thought that was all I wanted, just me in the shadows. But basements have long memories. They remember things better forgotten. Every night, when the building above went still, I'd catch these little details. A door on the monitor swinging an inch open when I was sure I'd locked it. Footsteps in the pipes like water hammering, but off rhythm, human somehow. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just echoes, just the building settling. But here's the thing, the longer you sit in the dark, the more the dark sits with you. I could feel it then, watching from the corners of the monitors, waiting. The basement was no longer just concrete and pipes, it was a throat. And I had willingly walked straight into its mouth. The footsteps became a ritual. At first they came once a night, a single pass like someone pacing above my head. But then they multiplied. 4 steps, pause. 6 steps, pause. Closer each time like a countdown I couldn't see but could feel in my bones. I went through every camera feed, every angle. The monitor showed empty halls, locked doors, stillness. Yet the sound was undeniable. Heel on concrete, heel on concrete. It got so loud one night I whipped around, certain someone was behind me. Nobody, just the hum of the pipes and the cold breath of the basement wrapping around my neck. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe old plumbing, maybe echoes from the street. But the footsteps began answering me. When I stopped, they stopped. When I moved, they followed. This wasn't a building settling. This was something listening. Then came the smell, wet copper and earth like blood buried under soil. It drifted from the far end of the hall where the old storage rooms were sealed off. The odor clung to my uniform, my hair, my dreams. I started locking myself in the control room, but even the lock felt useless. Thin metal between me and whatever crawled those halls. One night, around 3:13 a.m., I remember because the clock ticked so loud it made my teeth ache. The lights flickered. A single pulse, like a blink. In that blink, one of the monitors flashed an image, something crouched low at the edge of the hall, a shape too human to be a shadow and too still to be alive. It was gone the next frame, but I felt its presence like static in my skin. I called out then, my voice cracking. Who's there? Silence. Not empty silence, heavy silence. A silence that breathes, the kind that feels like an answer. From that night on, the basement became a trap. The lights dimmed when I walked past certain corners. The cameras fuzzed out in patterns of like blind spots appearing exactly where I needed them least. The footsteps didn't just follow anymore. They circled, and I began to understand. This wasn't just something passing through the building. It was something that lived down here, and it knew I had noticed it. The lock clicked, but the footsteps didn't stop. They pressed against the door, slow and deliberate, as if mocking me. Each thud rattled through the frame, shaking the thin glass of the monitors. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break the silence itself. I grabbed the radio, fingers slipping with sweat. Static. Nothing but static. Not a single voice on the other end. I tried again, my breath hissing between my teeth. Still nothing. It was as if the whole building had been emptied of sound, leaving only me and the thing outside that door. The lights above me buzzed, flared, and went out. Darkness swallowed the room whole. For a heartbeat, the only glow came from the monitors, each screen cutting in and out, flickering with white noise. And then in one frame I saw it, inside the control room, crouched in the corner. Not outside, not behind the locked door, inside. I stumbled back, knocking over the chair, my lungs clawing for air. The shadow moved like liquid, stretching long across the floor, reaching for me. No face, no features, just hunger in a shape my brain refused to accept. I had two choices: run deeper into the basement where the dark was endless, or go for the stairwell door and face whatever waited in the light above. My legs chose before my mind did. I lunged for the handle, ripping it open, and the lights blazed back to life with a scream of electricity. For half a second, I thought I was safe. But there it was, inches from my face, rising up from the floor like it had been part of the concrete itself. Its outline flickered like a bad signal struggling to tune in. I could feel its heatless breath, could hear the static bleed into my ears like whispers. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just hurled myself through the stairwell, boots slamming against metal, my own scream echoing so loud it chased me upward. Behind me, the door groaned as if something heavier than the world itself was pushing through. And that was the moment I knew. There was no shift, no job, no paycheck worth staying in that basement. Because whatever lived down there wasn't meant to be seen. And now it had seen me. I didn't tell anyone. What could I say? That the cameras showed me screaming at shadows? That something without a face crawled out of the walls to greet me? They'd laugh, or worse, they'd nod and write me up for a psych evaluation. So I swallowed it down, wore the mask of normal, and tried to convince myself I hadn't left pieces of my sanity on those cold concrete stairs. But the basement never let go. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back there. The hiss of static in my ears, that smear of black stretching across the floor. I started avoiding the night shift, swapped schedules, picked up lousy day jobs upstairs just to stay above ground. Still, every so often, I'd feel it. A tremor in the pipes, a flicker in the hallway lights, like the basement was reminding me it was still there, still waiting. Others noticed me unraveling. A coworker joked I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. Another told me I jumped whenever the elevators groaned. I laughed it off, but inside I felt raw, like I'd been branded by something no one else could see. I tried to watch the tapes again, needed proof I wasn't crazy. But when I loaded the file, all I saw was me, sitting in that chair, eyes darting, lips moving, body tensing like prey. Then the moment I remembered the shadow reaching for me, on the screen there was nothing. Just me screaming at the corner of an empty room. That was worse than any monster, because now the story wasn't just mine, it was in the system. Archived, a loop of my terror without context, stripped of the thing that made it real. The whispers didn't stop. Even in daylight, I swore I could hear them, faint, like a radio tuned one station too far. I never caught the words, only the intent, a reminder, a claim. By the time the next guard took over the basement shift, I couldn't look him in the eye. I wanted to warn him, tell him to get out before it noticed him too. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just nodded like passing a curse forward. And as the elevator doors shut, sealing him below, I heard it again. Footsteps, faint, patient, waiting for me to listen. I left the job within a week, packed my locker, handed over the badge, and signed the papers with hands that still trembled. They thought I was just another guard burned out on graveyard shifts. They'll never know what really burned me out. That basement, with its breath in my ear and its silence that wasn't silence at all. On the surface, life looked the same. Daylight shifts, coffee in crowded diners, the chatter of people who never knew what it was like to sit alone underground, listening to something that didn't belong. But I was changed. Every hum of a fluorescent light made me flinch. Every dark corner felt like a door I should never open. I told myself I'd moved on, that it was behind me. Yet sometimes in the quiet hours just before dawn, I hear them again. Footsteps, soft, patient, like they followed me out, waiting for me to turn my head, waiting for me to see. And maybe that's the worst part. Not that it happened in the basement, but that it doesn't stay in the basement. Darkness has a way of traveling. It lingers in memory. It leaks into the edges of everyday life. Once it's noticed, it can't be unseen. So, was I losing my mind that night? Maybe. Or maybe I saw something no one else was meant to. Something old, something patient, something that doesn't care whether you believe in it or not. But I'll tell you this, I still see that corner when I close my eyes. And in that corner, the dark isn't empty. It never was. Because if nothing was there, then what was waiting for me? If you found yourself holding your breath through this story, don't forget to like the video. It helps the channel grow and brings these stories to more people who crave them. Subscribe for daily chills and unsettling truths, and share this with someone who thinks basements are safe. Thank you for watching and listening. Another story is waiting for you right now on your screen. Don't miss it. And until tomorrow, keep the lights on.